All right, good morning, good Friday, everyone. I hope you guys are doing well. Wave meteorologist Brian Good on at this Friday about 9:50 in the morning. Good to see you guys. Getting ready for the holiday weekend. Hopefully we get some nice warm weather. And I do think we obviously have some today. Should stick with us for the entire weekend. So overall, nothing major coming our way. But this is one of those setups, once again, where the viewing area is a bit divided on the storm chances, and that is where things get a little bit on the trickier side as we head into, especially late tonight into Saturday. So what I'm going to do is show you the maps and where we stand as of this morning. New data is rolling in now. In fact, when I show you some of this, it may actually update live as I'm talking to you. But in general, this is one of those setups that will feature our areas north and west, the city more prone to strong storms in areas south and east. So it's not like a storm all weekend, but for some of you, you are in a zone where you could get a strong thunderstorm. So we don't want to downplay the weekend too much as far as avoiding rain and let you enjoy being outside. We want you guys to enter the weekend with a lot of caution, especially, again, if you're in Indiana and along I-64 into Kentucky. And I'll explain step by step coming up in just a few moments. As always, you guys can comment on the social media side. Got a lot of you on here. Majority of you watching on X right now. Hope you guys are well. Hello to Juanita. Hello to Michelle. Blue is on. Cal. Hello to Paul. How you doing? Hello to Nikki. Nikki's got the coffee ready. All right, Nikki. Hi, Amy. Always good to see you in here. Okay, everyone seems to be wide awake. Everyone is ready for a weekend. All right, you guys are primed and ready to go to hopefully get some good news here. So let's start with the latest live look over at Bardstown. Sun's so bright in the background, it's hard to see the courthouse there in the foreground, but it is a very nice bright morning. A little breezy outside. The wind will be ramping up though as the day wears on. It's not going to be a day where it's going to feature blue skies all day. It will be very much a partly to mostly cloudy day. In fact, so that back and forth between the shade and sun and shade and sun will lead to some fairly strong wind gusts at times yet again. That could easily get up there around 40 miles per hour. So be aware of that. All right, let's start you off with the latest look on numbers outside. We're at 69 degrees. Louisville barely dropped at all during the overnight hours. That south wind was a big help. So it was a nice, comfortable night, comfortable morning. And with all of us starting off very close to 70 already, you know that 80 degrees is certainly reachable as the day wears on. Gusts at Louisville, at least in the past 30 minutes, 29 miles per hour. We'll have a new number here soon. But already gusts between 20 and 30. And again, we're averaging close to 40 miles per hour as we hit throughout the day. And while that's not a terribly strong wind, we can handle that because we've been through it so many times. It will help in just blowing that pollen right in your face. So keep the allergy meds close by. It's not enough to ever get the pollen off the cars. You notice that? The pollen looks so light when it settles on your car, covers it in yellow. But when there's a strong wind, it just doesn't move off the car at all. And then you got the bees that drop. Now, trust me, I've seen more honeybees this season than before. That's a great sign when they drop those little drops of nectar there right onto the car. That stuff's hard to get off. But hey, it's a sign of spring, right? All right, so here we go. The look from space. You can see a batch of clouds in the area now. Looks like we'll go into at least a mostly sunny, maybe 90-minute window, and then more clouds will fill in from West Kentucky and West Indiana. Now, you're seeing rain here on the radar around St. Louis. You got to keep in mind, some of this is ground clutter and some of this is very light moisture aloft that is being detected by the radar. But the air is still fairly dry. As it moves over us, could we get a sprinkle or two? It's possible. The models actually hinted to that. for about 2 or 3 days now that there could be a drop or two that could fall, and the timing on that was roughly midday. I think that's fair, but I don't think it's enough for us to really have much of a rain chance in today, because most of you wouldn't even notice it because the wind will be so strong that even if there were sprinkles, they would be sideways and may not even hit you. So anyway, I just want to at least mention that if you see some green, excuse me, on the radar today, that's totally to be expected. It's nothing to worry about. It's not going to be a heavy downpour or anything like that. So fairly quiet here today. Actually, very, very nice. We get into a wider scope, and this is a very complex, very stretched out pattern that we've got across the lower 48. The main low itself still trying to get its act together into Texas. That will happen at some point Saturday night and Sunday. We talked about that early in the week, that this front is going to be the key player. Now, earlier in the week, look like the front, which is draped just like this, would at some point over the weekend become horizontal on Saturday and then tilt back to the north again on Sunday. Overall, that's still the same idea. The problem now is that it's very unlikely we're going to see that much of a tilt of that northwest down to I-64. It may waver and lean our way at times, especially on Saturday, but overall it will hold on to that Texas to Chicago path. So that's where the majority of the thunderstorms will be for the holiday weekend, will be in that storm path. The exception, again, will be late tonight and Saturday, when there will be a slight dipping to the south and east that will get it right into wave country, to where some of you could get some strong thunderstorms out of that before it pushes back north again. Now, will it eventually come back with the main low? Yes, but that will be late Sunday night. So that's a long way out still before we deal. And that'll be really our highest rain chance, or at least I should say the most widespread rain chance will be when the main front finally moves in late Sunday night, more so really Monday now. It's looking like sunrise Monday before it moves through here. All right, so that's the overall setup for the next 3 or 4 days. This is the game player in charge of our weather. As long as you're away from the front, you'll enjoy some sunshine. It will be breezy, and you're looking at, majority of the time, 80-degree temperatures. So a very warm holiday weekend if you can stay away from the front, or better yet, the front stays away from you. But if you're traveling at all, just know north and west, you're going to go right into that storm zone. St. Louis, even Bloomington, Indiana. Where's Adam at? Adam on here? Bloomington, Indiana, anywhere into that northwest section of our viewing area, you're going to run much more into the storm zone. So just be careful and traveling. All right, the Storm Prediction Center today, the severe outlook, and this is interesting too. Look at the slight risk, and now look at the marginal risk. Very thin. You don't see this often, where the marginal risk, or the next category down, is very narrow. It's a very broad slight, and then a very narrow marginal, and then nothing. The reasoning for that is the cap that is fairly strong over Kentucky, and it will get stronger as the weekend evolves. But that is pretty much a kill zone, if you will, for thunderstorms. So it high confidence that you can get a severe thunderstorm that will approach Evansville, and boy, you will just see that just fall absolutely apart rapidly as it moves a little closer to far southern Indiana and northern Kentucky. So that's why we don't have a severe outlook right now, for at least today. And even tomorrow's outlook is low. I'll show you that in a second. But this zone in general, along and south of the Ohio River, is not a very favorable environment to sustain storms for very long. Indianapolis, Peoria, St. Louis, even just west of Evansville, yes, they have the atmosphere that can. But that cutoff point is very sharp. So that's the reason why their outlooks are very sharp on their cutoff. That's SPC today. Level 1, level 2 are the two risk zones to the northwest. Tomorrow, it's a broad level 1. Now, could there be a level 2 added later? Possibly. Right now, I think that tonight looks so active on the radar. I don't know how much heating they're going to be able to get in that zone there in Illinois and even our northern counties in Indiana. I'm not sure how much heating will take place to really allow for another category up. I think it's just going to be a messy scenario, almost a constant feed of showers and thunderstorms tracking into Ohio. Not all of them severe. I mean, some of these will be just general showers, rumbles of thunder, just kind of a messy setup that could lead to over an inch of rain, maybe up to 2 inches of rain, just outside of our area into central Indiana because of that repeated nature. Meanwhile, for the rest of us, we're like, what rain? So if you're hoping for rain, if you need to plant or water some of the gardens, grass seed, some of you probably already put your annuals in the ground. I know we just had the flooding, but you got to keep in mind, once you go several days without rain and a couple days of very strong wind, that topsoil can dry out rapidly. So in some cases, yeah, you would need a little bit of rain. So if you're hoping for that, you may have to do a little bit of watering to take care of, especially grass seed, because for majority of the Commonwealth, it's going to be mainly a dry weekend. All right, that's your severe risk for tomorrow. One more stop. That'll take us into, well, I had Sundays in, but it was more west. So that's where the front tilts back again for Easter, but more on that in a second. All right, let's go through this hour by hour. Pick out your location on the map. You can see around 5 o'clock today, there are these green specks again. Most of that will be Virga, which is rain that's not reaching the ground. So it's likely just going to be a few drops here and there. Very similar to what we had yesterday, but not as cloudy and overcast as what yesterday was about. Again, very much peekaboo sunshine type of setup today, but warm despite the passing clouds, easily able to make it into the 80s for today. We're not going to get to the record. The record today is 90. That will be safe. Nobody wants 90 yet, right? Type 1 if went 90 yet. Nobody wants 90 yet. It's too early for 90. 82 to 84, that's good. That is a good spot to be in. There's Adam. Adam's here. All right, Adam. Pay attention, Adam. I'm going to circle back to your location for a reason here in just a second. All right, so let's advance this. Let's go into 10 o'clock tonight. Boy, it's going to be a warm night tonight and a holiday weekend. Oh, boy. Everyone's going to be out on the town tonight. There's going to be a lot of dates tonight. Everyone at their favorite restaurants, going to the movies. I don't know what the new movie is now. What's the new movie that's out? Or can you even say? I haven't been keeping up lately. Anyway, if you're venturing out, very warm. Not exactly a summer feel because it won't be overly humid, but it will be pleasant. Now, here's where things get a little messy. We get into the wee hours of late tonight, early Saturday morning, and we start to see some of the severe weather that will be developing tonight back into Missouri and Illinois start to work its way a little more into the no man's land there, that danger zone across southern Indiana and northern Kentucky, where it begins to fall apart. But it gets very close to us. So as we get into tomorrow morning, you can see how the storm zone does shift a little more into the I-64 corridor. Now, this is not anything severe that's showing up here at 6 o'clock in the morning, but it does indicate there at least could be some downpours. Likely will be cloudy. I think Louisville's fair to put in that zone based on the data I've been looking at this morning. So I think that's fair. Certainly for Indiana, Seymour, Bedford, all of our Indiana counties, you will be at least in the storm zone. I'm not saying it's going to be raining and storming at 6 a.m. You're just going to be in that zone. South of 64, the cap will likely hold and you will stay dry and warm. Now, once we get into the mid-morning hours on Saturday, this is where the modeling the data kind of veers just a bit. There are signs of a couple of strong cells, maybe even a supercell or two embedded into this flow that tries to move in from Illinois into Indiana. This one right here is one that keeps showing up, even this one as well, in the morning hours. But the previous run, this is the HER model, previous run to the HER model had it about here, maybe 60 miles south. Some of the other higher res models have it behind the Banner, a little closer to the Wabash, and eventually could influence Bloomington, Indiana. That's why I mentioned Adam earlier, where he's at in Bloomington. So be aware of that. There is a chance that we could get a strong thunderstorm cell, severe weather tomorrow morning that will be approaching at least into our northwest sections. Just don't know how south it will go yet. But I do think it's fair to say that our Indiana counties could be in line for that. Now, because of the time of day, that early in the morning, and we're talking about supercells, I wouldn't be overly alarmed yet because there's one thing that works in your favor, and that is the timing of day would allow for the base of the cloud to be fairly high up or elevated to where any tornado threat would be cut down. It's not zero, but it would be reduced. This would be more very heavy rain, some hail, and strong winds could come out of that. Now, if this was 5 in the afternoon, I'd be much more concerned about that cell being rooted all the way down and would be a big problem. But that early in the day may work in your favor. Having said that, there could be some warnings issued tomorrow morning early on. So make sure you have your weather radios plugged in. We don't have alert days out for this weekend because it really is only going to be just a few counties right now that would be at risk. And we'll handle this on a case-by-case basis. But I just want to make sure that for those of you watching, if you're in Indiana, if you're in the storm zone, type 3. If you're in the safe zone, if you will, type 5. 3 in the storm zone, 5 if you're not. That way I have a handle of who is where as I'm talking to you guys. All right? There you go. All right, so we got the cells in the morning hours that will pass on by. As they do so, they do produce an outflow or a tail, if you will, of wind, a cooler pocket of wind. One thing we're going to have to watch as they breeze on by, they will produce an outflow that will try to sink south. Why is that important? Well, a couple of reasons. One, that outflow would drop temperatures and bust our high temperature forecast for some areas in the path of that outflow for a while. But it also serves as a new line or new boundary that could ignite additional development of thunderstorms later on Saturday. Now, you'll see it probably on radar form. It'll be a thin green line that will push out from the thunderstorm as it grazes by, the outflow pushes out. You will see that it will struggle in a big way on trying to go due south straight into, say, Bardstown or E-Town. It won't be able to do that. Too much of a cap here. So it can only go maybe one extra row of counties to the south as far as influence. And that's why we included the I-64 corridor in the storm zone, just because, say, the storm tracks into Lawrence County, Jackson, and Jennings, it can produce an outflow that could reach as far south as I-64, and therefore the 64 corridor could light up with additional showers and storms at some point on Saturday. So it's all about cause and effect. One event causes the next. If this supercell is not here, or these clusters of storms are not in the spot at 9 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, then we don't have to worry about the outflow being produced and sent to 64, and a lot of us will stay rain-free. But so far, the data has been very consistent for about, I would say, 2.5 days on this idea that there will be some type of activity, perhaps an embedded supercell that will move across Indiana. We just got to figure out where. It has to form first, and unfortunately, I'm not going to stick around all night long to watch that happen. So just be weather aware. As it moves on by, you see it, there we go, at 11:30. That cell's gone, but the outflow is still lingering, and then eventually everything just kind of fades out. I'm suspect about this stuff there. Don't worry about that. It won't be that far south, but you get the idea that 64 north is the zone to watch. We get into Easter Sunday, same ordeal. At least initially, Easter Sunday morning, the storm zone will still be very close to I-64, but it will be evolving as we head throughout the day on Sunday. That zone will actually push rapidly back north to where I think the majority of the area will then be capped, and therefore we don't have much to worry about on a crazy Easter afternoon with thunderstorms. But Easter morning, yes, could still be a little active on the radar, especially in that storm zone on northern sections for just a few hours. And then it'll improve as the day wears on. All right, so here's where we're placing the potential for the weekend. We're going to keep the general storm zone roughly along the I-64 corridor, give or take a county along it. But in fairness, if you're near 64, and hopefully you know your location, that's the zone we're going to be watching for, just the rain thunderstorm potential overall. To get warnings, the area we're going to be watching is going to be roughly from Du Bois County to Jefferson County, Indiana, and north. Potential get warnings will be in that zone. If you're south of all this, E-Town, Litchfield, Columbia, Greensburg, Taylorsville, area, or Taylor County, and Campbellsville, you'll be well within the capped area to where you're going to be quiet until the main front moves in on Monday morning. Okay, 3-ish. I knew somebody was going to be like, I'm right on the edge of that. Yeah, 3-ish. Hi, Ryan. Adams in the storm zone. Let's see. Got a lot of 3s. So a lot of you are in the storm zone, right? Wait, Ashley. I'm so single. What are y'all talking about? Are y'all turning the weather blog into a dating app? What's happening here? I'll leave y'all alone for 5 seconds. All right. Marianne, I know you'll be watching there in Memphis, Indiana. We'll keep an eye on it. Okay, I think everyone's clear on their spot. It's not a complex setup in general. We've had more complex scenarios. I think it's pretty straightforward, and I hope I'm explaining it well. It's just Indiana, storm zone, 64, iffy, south of 64. You're good. Okay, I'm not going to dwell on it too long. Let me get right into the main front itself, which will be moving in more so Monday morning. This is when everyone will have a chance to get some thunderstorms. It's not going to be a 100% chance because the front, the low pressure itself will occlude, or it loses its basic frontal properties to it. So the cold front is going to be basically washing itself out as it heads east. As that happens, there will be gaps along this line. there is a chance somebody may fit perfectly in that little gap as the rain band moves through and you miss out. So yes, there is a low end potential that some of you watching right now may stay completely dry the entire holiday weekend, all the way through Monday. It's possible. I think you'll be the exception rather than the rule. I think it's going to be hard for a lot of you to miss this final wave. But for the Saturday thunderstorm zone up to the north there, a little more active. Here it is on timing. This is 3 o'clock in the morning, Monday. So if you're worried about even having Easter dinner Sunday afternoon, late afternoon, evening, you don't have to worry about severe weather moving in that evening. It's going to be late. And I really don't think it's going to be much of a severe weather maker because of its late timing. It's mainly just going to be a wall of wind and rain passing through, and then it begins to fade out. It will be windy on Monday, but a cooler wind and drier flow of wind, but it will be windy. All right, so here's your Easter outlook. We'll keep the rain chance intact just because of how warm it'll be. So I think you can't go 0 per chance. But chance of rain per chance, percent chance for a thunderstorm as we head into Easter. I think there is a chance that 1 or 2 pop-ups could form, but that will be very rare. I think majority of the area will stay dry and it'll be warm. Again, 80s as we head into the Easter holiday. All right, what happens after that? Well, we get into a quiet period for maybe a couple of days, but then another round of storms. This one's going to be a little more complex that rolls in out of the deep south. I don't know yet how the angle on this one. This one's a bit tough. Some of the data wants to take it sharply northeast, some sharply due north, and some right over us. We just know at some point later Wednesday into Thursday, that is when the rain chance and the storm chance is going to go back up again. And that's going to put us back into the zone of watching all the balloon glows, watching the balloon race, the mini and the mini marathon. That will all be decided by the fate of this system. And yes, right now there is rain and thunderstorms. I'm not necessarily saying severe weather right now with this kind of a setup. I think it just looks like heavy downpours and showers and thunderstorms at this point, which isn't a huge deal for runners, but obviously for the balloons, it would be a problem. And even just the general wind would be a problem for the glows that we always love to enjoy watching there. So they always have an issue, it seems like every year, especially the balloons when it comes to wind, right? So this year it looks to be no different with a system approaching. Yeah, we got to sort this out for the end of next week for all the Derby events there for the runners. But for your runners out there, don't panic yet on being a soaking heavy rain, but I do think some rain right now is warranted in the forecast, and we'll watch it. After that point, well, we get into Derby week, and I know you guys are going to ask me, what's it going to be like for Oaks? What's it going to be like for Derby? I'm seeing some hints already. It's all over the place. So I would say, to be fair, because I like you all, you may not believe that, but I like you all. So to be fair, majority of the data is going with, say, 72 for Oaks and Derby. Not bad, right? I think that is a fair number to spit out. What I can't get into is, will it be dry or rainy? The pattern is just too active, too messy, too many moving parts. It'll get me in trouble with my own words, so I don't want to do it. Just know we'll be watching that. Obviously, that is our Super Bowl of the entire year, is what happens in the next 2 weeks. So our whole team is just constantly pouring over data and discussing points. We don't want to throw out things to confuse you guys. We don't want to be wishy-washy. We don't want to throw something out and then have to retract it back. So we're trying to carefully approach how Derby week will evolve, but we'll worry about that later. I just want you guys to get this weekend. This weekend's got its challenges in itself, and I want you guys just to make sure you have a way to be notified for alerts this weekend. Enjoy the holiday weekend. I want you to enjoy being with your families. If you have Easter egg hunts or potato hunts, whatever is the thing that's happening this year, enjoy it. Yes, in Indiana and Northern Kentucky, the ground's probably going to be wet. So kind of keep that in mind for the kiddos as well. But I think overall, a lot of you will have a fairly quiet weekend and warm. Kyle, wind alert day. Nope, no wind alert day for today. The wind will be similar to what we had. Was it Monday or Tuesday? All the days run together. I think it was Monday when we hit 37 miles per hour, like 6 or 7 times that day. I think it's going to be close to that type of day today. Was there a weak front? Hi, Angela. Was there a weak front that moved through yesterday afternoon? It was a warm front that came through, Angela. So the pressure change was noted. And so you probably, even sometimes even small pressure changes can affect migraines. But yeah, we did have a boundary that did pass through. Gary, all that is too far out. People need to chill and wait until it gets closer. Why worry about it 2 weeks out? Gary, I'm worried about snow on January 4th next year already. What are you talking about? I'm already stressing. I get your point. I don't think anyone's overly concerned yet. I think if you've been in Louisville or from Wave Country in general, you know how this works. You get how this has to play out. And just gotta stay close. The blogs, this is the biggest part of the blog. Blogs do very well when we get into snow season, right? We're talking about snowstorms. Everyone loves snow, most of you. But we also are constantly on here and doing streams as we get into Derby week, because that is a big time. Hi, Cameron. Will we continue to calm in May for storms? Nope. I alluded to that the other day, that I think mid-May and late May, especially toward Memorial Day weekend, which seems like that's been the case the past few years, but there is an active signal there. Crispy, we had a dry Derby. Yes, we've had several, actually. I've had three years that I've been here where Oaks and Derby have both been dry, and 1 year where every Derby event was dry in the 70s, but one did not make it, and that was Thunder. I can't remember the year, but it was 1 year. It was possible, and it was wild when it happened. It reminds me of what was the State Fair, I think was last year or year before, where nearly the entire State Fair was beautiful weather. So sometimes we get lucky. But it's hard this time of year. It is really hard. Usually our rule of thumb, though, Oaks and Derby, one of them's got to sacrifice to the weather gods. We don't know which one usually that is, but it's hard to get two back-to-back that are nice. But it's possible, so I'm not going to say no. Okay. Everyone seems to be in good shape overall. It is 16 after 10, so I got to run because I have got to get ready for, you said the date tonight. That's why it was turned into a dating app. I did say that, didn't you? You may be on a date tonight because it's going to be nice and pleasant out. All right. So it was my fault. Sorry about that. I wasn't trying to start up a Tinder service here on the block. All right. You guys are awesome. Listen, have a good, safe weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Let me show you the 10 days ahead out. Stay close to the updates. Again, later today, we'll be on TV. Carson is, he's watching. I'm sure he's in a different room right now, but he's going to have his hands full looking at that radar tomorrow morning, but he's going to be on tomorrow morning. So make sure to get up early and tune in and just see where that boundary is. See if those cells did form into Southern Indiana or not. And that will really give you a good handle on how the rest of the day is likely to turn out for your Saturday. Otherwise, stay safe, have fun, and I hope you get some cash on one of those eggs you open up. Take care.